Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the new thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
Good morning and welcome to Ministers Talking Shit. I'm Rev B.
And I'm Cheryl Rodgers.
And we are filling in for Rev Briz and Rev Z because they're off doing whatever. And, I was thinking, man, they go away for a week and there's no news. There's been peace on earth for...
If only that would be true.
Oh, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? There's so many things going on in the world right now. It's like, where do you begin?
I know. It's
No
crazy.
wonder people are anxious and depressed.
Mm.
Man, I don't watch the news because it's depressing. It causes anxiety. So I'm busy reading it this morning going,
What? Yeah, I know. And really, I mean, that's what it's about, right? It's being able to watch the news and observe and not be reactive.
and not be reactive. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the reaction that really causes disruption in our bodies, and it affects our energy. But I say that, and they say you teach what you need to learn most, right?
I know it's so easy to say, don't react to the news, just take it in stride. But then something happens and you go, no way.
What?
Exactly. Well, and there's lots of things going on right now. I mean, there is an election coming up in the United States. I am fascinated by American politics. I mean, I don't watch it. I don't know much about it, but I'm fascinated by how angry people get around whether or not you're a Republican or a Democrat. It's like, you're still people. Why are you so angry with each other? Who cares? Stay in your lane. That's like up here in Canada, because you got two Canadian girls here this morning, folks. So sorry about that. So we have a different perspective about world news. But I'm just curious, Cheryl, like, what do you think about that? That number one, they have a felon running.
I mean, that's just crazy. It's just not just a felon, a liar. I mean, he's been proven to tell so many untruths, and so it just blows my mind that people...
Here's what I think. I think everybody who's currently incarcerated, you now have a new goal. You can now put your sights on being president of the United States. I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
I think it's now an opportunity for many more people to
step up to the,
I got to say, I was blown away by that. And watching, I don't watch the news, but of course you get little bits and pieces. And, I was incredibly surprised to find out that Trump was the original founder of the IVF movement. Like, that.
He doesn't even know what that means, Barbara.
No, he doesn't. But it's interesting to have somebody say that when they don't know what it is. Like, just if you don't know what it is.
He can't help himself. I really believe that. He cannot help himself. Whatever comes out, he's got to be the one that discovered it, the one on top, the best person in the world, I don't know, the most brilliant, when he can't even string together a decent sentence with decent vocabulary. Anyway, I'm being, that's another.
But that's kind of the truth.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've got this Hamas leader killed. Like, that's interesting to see what that's, they're saying it opens a window of opportunity for Israel to end the war in Gaza. I haven't been following that. It's well, I don't follow the news, so we know I haven't been following it.
The problem with that, though, is that Hamas is still holding hostages, and they could have ended this a long time ago.
Yeah.
And this is what also people don't realize. They're the ones that have been holding on to these hostages. And I believe many of them, and it's hearsay, because but many of them, hearsay that many of them are dead. It's not hearsay that they're holding over 100 hostages.
It's whether or not they're alive.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so it's interesting that people don't recognize just how, in my opinion, they're playing on people's emotions to get them onto their side. And, there shouldn't be sides. I mean, ultimately, I wish there weren't. But, the reality is there's always three sides to a story, not just two.
There's what's happened, and then there's what these two people or two sides perceive as what happened.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
And it's interesting because I think, when I look at what's going on in the world, because there's so many wars going on and there's so much anger in Canada and the US, drivers doing things that I've never seen them do before. And I think that, all of this rage is coming from a deep fear. And so that needs to be shifted. We need to begin to sort of recognize that there's a power within us that can move us forward and ignore what's going on out there, because what's going on out there is going to trip us up every time.
Absolutely. And what's going on out there, if you look at everything, the wars, the politics, just everything, it's very divisive.
Yes.
And what is so interesting is that it's so divisive that it's almost like a split in half, right? Because everything is like almost 50-50, the way things are going. And like you said, we have a responsibility because we are part of creating that, right? The collective consciousness. And so where do we start? Like you said, within ourselves. That's the only place where we can start. It's the only place we can do anything.
Yeah. I can't change you, but I can change me.
Exactly.
And the thing is, the stuff that runs around in our head. We hear about something or we see something, and then it's like our mind wraps a meaning around it. It's good, it's bad, whatever. And then that just is like a little hamster on a wheel. It just runs. And the next thing you know, we've exploded it to something much bigger than it ever was. And we're suffering because of the thoughts that we're thinking.
Exactly. And that energy is adding to the collective.
It is.
Right. And so that's how it's creating what's happening outside of us, or how it contributes to creating, because we co-create.
Exactly.
We never create on our own. There's a Mayan saying, you are my other me. If I harm you, I harm myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself.
And that's, I think, a really good message for people today, especially in the US with the election coming up. And I've been talking to a number of different people who say that, they're following everything really closely. They watch the debates. They're like really ingrained in what's happening and a little bit concerned about what the outcome might be. One side or the other. I mean, on both sides, there's that fear. I watched a woman being interviewed a couple of weeks ago by accident, walking through my living room. And she said that if Trump loses, there'll be civil war.
Well,
and
it's
like, wow. Like, I don't feel that strongly about Canadian politics. There's changes I'd like to see, but I don't see us creating a war against each other because of who's in power.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I hear you, and I agree with you that Canadians wouldn't do that. However, there are people in Canada that are rearing their heads. There was a protest a little while ago in Vancouver by an organization, and I don't know how to say their name. It's Samidoun, and they were shouting "Death to Canada," and they burned the Canadian flag.
Wow.
And they've now been designated as a terrorist entity in Canada. But the thing is, they're here, right? Mm-hmm. And this is also what's happening is that I think everywhere you can't really physically stop people from doing things. So it's having to shift that energy so that we can really co-create a better world together.
Yeah. And it does require each one of us to, instead of being reactive, to find a way to be peaceful and to take action, but not from that reactive, angry energy, but from a place of power. Like we all have a power within us, but we have to use it creatively in order to overturn some of that other energy. And that can be tough.
Yeah.
Because we look at what's going on and we're angry about it.
Yeah.
And then we have to, sort of go, okay, I'm angry. What am I feeling? And then move through that.
Yeah.
So I can get through the other side and be productive in changing the narrative.
Yeah.
The only way I can change it is to think new thoughts.
Yeah. And you have to feel what you're feeling. So nobody's saying don't feel your anger or don't feel whatever it is, but feel it and move on. Recognize, don't stay in that. Recognize that's not the place to be, but that you acknowledge the feeling and then shift it, change it. Be consciously creating, not unconsciously.
Well, exactly, and that's the big thing, right? There's a power in the universe that we can use. Well, actually, we're using it all the time. And how we're using it depends on the thoughts that we're thinking.
Yeah. And Wayne said, love only, forgive always. And really, I mean, to me, that's the ultimate state of being, is loving and forgiving. And, look at Mother Teresa. Like, she is a pure example of that. Of loving and forgiving and just being in the moment and doing what she can where she can.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? In this moment I have power. In the past I don't, because it doesn't exist. And of course, if I'm, projecting into the future, I'm not powerful there either because it doesn't exist. So there's only now, and finding that way to stay present in the now moment when we're looking at wars or the other news story I was looking at was the Robertson who was on death row in Texas. And now he was supposed to die yesterday. They've given him a stay for another day. He's maintained he's innocent. But everybody's, I don't know if they have new evidence or what they have, but they have stayed his execution. I am shocked that we still execute people.
I know, 2024. Well, I'm shocked at the way the world is right now. So, as I said, 2024, I'm like, oh my goodness, look at the state of the world. It's 2024, and it feels like we're, I don't know, in the 1600s.
Well, and the thing is, we've always done this. War machine is a very, very powerful machine, and it generates a lot of jobs, creates a lot of money, and how do we convince governments to stop the arms thing and begin to work on healthcare, houselessness?
Well, I think the only way is to start voting for people with the right consciousness.
Well, Marianne Williamson was hoping to run, and she didn't get there, but I'll tell you, she's making a ripple in everything, and that's what we need more of, is women like her, and we need women in power. I really believe more women at the top.
Yeah.
Like female president would be a good idea.
Yeah.
In Canada, it'd be great to have a female prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to flip the script, because people are scared. People are scared, and that's why they're acting out the way they are.
Yeah.
And you blame them? We've had that lockdown. People were dying left, right, and center.
Yeah.
It's been a difficult time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We're in Good Heart Club. Oh gosh, good for you, Wayne, for staying so positive and keeping it together.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of Canada, we talked about the flag burning in Vancouver. There was an anti-Israeli sign displayed in Moncton, New Brunswick, which is on the East Coast. And people were outraged by it. It was a big billboard in Moncton, New Brunswick. And so, we really have to take a look at how do we as individuals begin to change the story. When we look around and we see all this hatred, which hatred comes from fear. And I believe it's been trained into us, but fear being the main thing that creates it, right? And passing that on to the children, training children that here's who you need to hate.
Yeah.
I look
That's a good point, Barbara. We've got to start with our children. We've got to start changing the way we talk to our children, the ideas we put in their heads, because really we're all conditioned, right?
Yes,
we're all conditioned by our family upbringing, our schooling, the environment we grew up in, the society we grew up in. We're all conditioned. I just want to acknowledge too that Wayne says he'll do his part, which is great. I really think that's good. But I interrupted you, but I wanted to remind us that, that's another area that we can really make a difference is in how we treat our children and just think about, what we're putting in their heads.
Well, and that's, I remember Pierre had watched a show a while ago that was about the Nazis and how they did what they did. And, it's fascinating to me that people can, really destroy each other the way that we do and the way that we have in the past. The way that we continue to do. I sometimes wonder, what will it take for us to begin to look at the world from that place of a united energy? When you look at the internet and stuff, the world has become very small now. I mean, I can talk to somebody in Australia in a second. I can just pick up the phone and we can have a nice little chat.
Yeah.
So everything has changed. News comes from all over the world. I don't have to just stick to Canadian or American news. I can watch the BBC and stuff, so I get different perspectives. And so when we're looking at all these things, what do we do to begin to create that shift that changes the force, the direction of where we're headed? And I don't know that I don't know the men that are in power today if they're able to do that kind of a change.
I don't believe so. That's why we need young people to come into power. We need people like Marianne Williamson. Definitely. Oh gosh, I had a thought and now it's just gone. That's what happens when you start getting to my age. It comes and it goes.
Onto it. It just flows.
Yeah, it flows in and out. And that's how I live in the moment. I'm very present in the now.
Well, I look even at our spiritual organizations and go, wouldn't it be nice if we did more collaboration, more cooperation, creating community together rather than going, oh, keep your distance, let's
Yeah,
compete. I
yeah.
think competition is a way of really expanding the fear idea
Mm-hmm.
because I have to
Mm-hmm.
win.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
it's othering, right? It's separating you from me.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. If I can, I remember watching a short film called Skin or Skins. I think it's on YouTube. It's quite difficult to watch, but um, where you start to see in that film how this family is so ingrained in the hatred of another culture, and then the horror that comes as a result of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it illustrates it in a really loud way,
Mm-hmm.
the divisiveness and then what that causes or can cause. And I think it's up to us to go, where do we want to focus our attention? So for me, I don't watch the news as a very deliberate act. And people will say, well, you're burying your head in the sand. And I'm not. I hear the news. People tell me all the time what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you open up the internet and you get something. And it's like there's this constant, we're constantly bombarded with the information. So the
Mm-hmm.
information gets to me, but I don't I don't allow it to take up space. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
get to live in my head, an unpaid tenant. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like,
That's excellent. The thought came back. It's going this way now. And it's really about also we are so, I don't even know what the word is, that we believe the minute we hear something on the news, it's fact, it's truth,
oh yes, or we see
right?
it online.
Yeah, or we see that, and that's not the case anymore. I mean, look at the different. I don't know much about the different news stations in the US, but I do know, for example, Fox News is very much Republican skewed, and so you hear what you want to hear as a Republican, and then
Yeah.
there are other channels that you will hear something different. So, that we as human beings, again, need to realize and recognize that. Do your own research, do your own delving into what's going on and what it means for you and for the rest of the world. Don't just believe what you see or hear.
Well, that's it. I received I don't know where it came from, but I think I was doing the Good News. And so I was on the Good News Network and I was picking stories out of there that we could use. And while I was doing that, I came across a story and I'm looking at it going, well, that's interesting. And it was the NDP leader here in Canada, Singh, who was talking about this project that he's put together to help Canadians. And so I looked at it and I went, wow, that's really interesting, and then moved on. But it was a whole, way of creating wealth for people. So I come back to it later and realize the words and the lips are not lining up. And here it is, somebody has fabricated this story
Mm,
to get people to act in a certain way. And I look at that and I go, man, the amount of effort people put into deception. What
yeah,
if they put it into consciously creating something that they love rather
yeah,
than destroying everything around? I think that fascinates me, that
yeah,
you would want to take from someone else because it harms you.
yeah.
You're harming yourself when you do that. It's
I think, if we have to look at humanity and think about where we are in the evolution of, say, a human lifetime, we are still babies.
I
We
think
have
so.
so much to learn. I don't even think we've started crawling yet.
Well, I don't know if we have or not, but I know I'll tell you, I think you're right on there that we're still children trying to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fascinating that we're living the way we are living, that we're going through some of the things that we are.
Mhm.
And people are a little bit stuck. You know, I've noticed many, many people who still are not comfortable leaving their homes.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
And yeah, COVID still exists, but
Mhm.
we know how to handle this now. And
Mhm.
it's not like that first wave that, killed a lot of people. So I understand the fear, but if we live there, we destroy ourselves.
Mhm.
Got to
Yeah.
change our thinking about that. It's not,
Yeah. And our feeling, I think that's also
yeah,
something that we need to realize is we can try and say affirmations and think differently all we like, but if we don't feel it, that's the energy, that's the rocket fuel. And
yeah,
so we need to shift the feeling. So, things like when I'm not feeling, very aligned or not happy, I'll think of my grandchildren and my
mm,
heart will just open up and I'll be like so feeling such love, right? And so
yeah.
using different ways that we can shift from one feeling to another, using some kind of technique to help us do that.
Well, I think we all have the capability to do it.
Hmm.
And it starts with our thinking because the thinking's what's gonna, fuel up that energy. I
Hmm.
think, oh, that Cheryl said this and it made me angry. So now,
Mm, mm,
right? So while I'm angry, that then grows and I'm projecting onto you something I
mhm.
probably shouldn't be. And, we do react in ways that we should not. And we do have to calm ourselves, but I think the key is to look here rather than
Absolutely.
looking out here.
Yeah.
Like if I'm mad at you, I need to look at me,
Yeah.
not you.
Yeah.
Because whatever you did or whatever you said, maybe it was something really mean. I doubt that, but it's something really mean that, you don't like me anymore. Now I'm sad. But why am I sad? Like, again,
Mhm.
going back to that place within, going, why is it important that somebody like me or that somebody love me or accept me? What do
Exactly.
they need to accept me?
Yeah.
Which
And
is,
so that's a great point because nobody can make us feel anything, right? And so recognizing that, and I try and again teach my grandchildren this, when you're angry or you get upset at something, the only person that it's harming is yourself. The person that you're angry with has walked away, forgotten about it. They haven't even thought about it and they won't
yeah,
again. And you sit with that anger and it festers inside of you. And
yeah.
so who is it hurting?
Well, that's it. And that's where, forgiveness comes in.
Mhm.
People so misunderstand forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't about, what they did is okay. Forgiveness is about, just sitting back going, no, you don't get to do that to me. It's like taking a good pair of scissors and cutting the rope that ties us together. It's
Mhm.
releasing that so that I can be free.
Mhm.
If I'm holding a resentment, man, somebody once said resentment's like drinking poison, but expecting somebody else to die.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the same thing, right?
That's
As
what it
anger.
yeah.
Yeah. And so, oh gosh.
Did it happen again? Zing. It'd be great if it did that and landed on me, right? If it just zipped on this
Yeah.
side.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. But
But I
oh, I was going to say that really forgiveness starts with forgiving yourself, right?
always.
How many times do we like, oh gosh, I shouldn't have reacted that way, or I shouldn't have done this, or why did I do that?
Yeah.
So I think it starts with forgiving yourself. And again, I'm going to re-emphasize, it doesn't mean that you are condoning the behavior or
Not at
you're
all.
condoning whatever happened. What it means is you are not going to carry that in your backpack.
Exactly.
right? And if it means letting go of somebody or something and not seeing them again, but forgiving them, then so be it. So not condoning the behavior, but letting go of the impact that it has on me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well said. Well said. So everybody go and do your forgiveness work.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness and gratitude. I think we don't spend, we just went through Thanksgiving here in Canada. We're a little ahead of you all in the US. And the idea of gratitude is a really, really important part of our practice. If we are grateful for our lives draw to us more to be grateful for. When we're resentful and upset, we're blocking that flow of energy, and nothing good is going to come. And we're going to be part of the process that, causes hatred in our world and suffering around us. So it's really important that we do our piece. Love yourself where you are, as you are, and just chill. Take a breath. I used to hear my mom say, when I get angry, stop and count to 10. I'm like, who cares? In 10 seconds, I'm still going to be angry. There's something about that pause. You pause to count to 10, and it's like, maybe you start to see things in a different way, which would be quite remarkable. That'd be fabulous. But
yeah, absolutely.
who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, what else was in the news there today? There was a few stories that kind of got my attention a little bit. Let me just see what. Oh yeah, that the October 7th attacks by Israeli forces. There's so much when I look at what's going on in Israel and Gaza. I don't understand it. I don't understand.
And you know what? That's a lot of people don't understand it. And I don't, I'm not saying that I do, but I think that we really need, there's so much behind the history here. There's so much behind just so many different things. And the one thing that I hardly ever hear about is that Hamas is still holding over 100 hostages, right? And we don't know whether they're alive or dead.
Yeah.
And that was also that was a negotiating point that I really think could have helped stop this war, and they weren't willing to go there. And so these are things that people don't talk about and don't recognize and don't realize. That when they say from the river to the sea, they actually mean wiping out Israel. That's what they mean. From the river to the sea means wiping out the Jews. Right? Now, again, I know this. I have family in Israel, and I know what they're going through. Now, I'm not condoning this war. Please don't believe me, think that I am, because I don't condone any war. I don't believe in war. I think that when we start recognizing that we are one, but I don't think it's going to be in my lifetime, and I'm not sure it's going to be in my.
It's hard to say, because I remember when the Berlin Wall fell, and I thought that would never happen.
True.
It just couldn't. And when I was watching on CNN and I'm watching this thing fall down, I was in tears. I was like,
yeah.
Who knew that could happen? So we've seen a lot of changes in the world. I mean, we could see a few more miracles. I think it's up to us to really maintain that consciousness of oneness, that idea that we are all connected. And then from there, watch what happens in our world. So maybe we'll be surprised.
You're right, Barbara, because I also think, we know about the tipping point, right?
Yes.
So that's a very good reminder. Is that all it needs is, that those extra people, and I think we're almost there.
I think so too.
Create that tipping point.
Yeah, there's so many people that I talk to that are really connected to their inner work. And I think, coming together to share those ideas with each other is a really good idea. But regardless of that, there are people who are going, my life today, I don't feel like it's working for me. And they start searching for something and realize that within them, they have what they're searching for. And it's in that moment that there's a freedom, there's a click that kind of happens that releases me from the delusion
Right. Yeah.
that I've been living in. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. And yeah, fear is the mind killer. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry, somebody shared yesterday something. Joan Grundy, who was on the Out of My Mouth talk show yesterday on New Thought Media Network, she said, she's written this book, and she said, reflection and experience create a shift. When you're able to bring the experience and your reflection on it together, you can create a shift because you're bringing awareness to it.
Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
And so I thought about that. We can have all these experiences in the world and not change anything. But when we reflect on them and we have the awareness, we start becoming more conscious about the experiences that we are co-creating.
Then it changes. Well, this has been fun. I'm not sure what Rev Briz and Rev Z are up to today, but I think Cheryl and I had a pretty good time. Hopefully they agree when they watch this back, if they watch it back. And I want to thank you for watching, for being here. This is Ministers Talking Shit on the New Thought Media Network, and we'll be back again next week, but the boys will be back. So make sure you join and watch and like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now. See you next time. Thanks Cheryl.
For working. Bye.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.